Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is your host JD. I hope you're all doing well and you're all having a great week so far. As you can see with the title, the thumbnail, I am back today talking about the recent feud that just took place all over social media between woke athletes Simone Biles and Riley Gaines. And because of all of that, the internet, as I'm sure most of you have seen, it exploded, and all of this began when Riley Gaines called out a Minnesota softball team who won a 2025 state championship with a male on the team. How stunning, brave, progressive. Let's all pause the video right now if you don't mind me doing this and give this team a round of applause for cheating. But as you can see, Riley Gaines posts on X in response to this team winning, comments offload to be expected when your star player is a boy. And Simone Biles, man oh man, she couldn't believe Riley Gaines would say such a thing because it's so controversial to say. It's so mean, hateful, get a grip, man. And she replies with the following: "At Riley Gaines, you're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports. But instead, you bully them, right? Because that makes total sense. One thing's for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around." What is she on about? So you're telling me girls and women are safe competing against other dudes in their sports, especially when it comes to physical sports? Yeah, Riley Gaines is apparently the issue here. And as you would imagine, she got absolutely destroyed for this comment because she doesn't realize it's not 2020 any longer. I said this last time, man. It's 2025. And most people know men competing in women's sports is wrong for obvious reasons. You know, when you sit here and think about it, we have an athlete like Simone Biles who is coming after Riley Gaines, who is only trying to help women's sports. How does that make any sense? You would at least think athletes like Simone Biles, who are competing at the highest level, would be on the right side of things. But no, that's what indoctrination does to people, and they end up coming out with statements like we saw. And talking about statements, by the way, we're going to be getting into one of her old tweets that completely goes against what she said here. It's actually quite embarrassing, man. But Riley Gaines then responds with this post. "This is actually so disappointing. It's not my job or the job of any woman to figure out how to include men in our spaces. You can uplift men stealing championships in women's sports with your platform. Men don't belong in women's sports, and I say that with my full chest." Look, she's completely correct there. We all know this. We all know men should not be competing in women's sports. There's no justification for it. We don't care how these men feel. Just based off their feeling, by the way, that's why they're allowed to compete in women's sports. It completely goes against safety, fairness, truth, reality, common sense. Those things are more important than how some random dude feels. And we always have this suggestion, as Simone Biles even implied, you know, there should be a separate category maybe. Create a category solely for trans athletes. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. Whenever I see this suggestion, I'm just like, do people not understand the whole thing with this issue? I mean, the Swimming World Cup even tried to do this and nobody entered. So that just tells you all you need to know. It's not just about competing for these male athletes. They want to compete against women because they want their identity to be validated, and they know if they compete against other women, they're going to do better because of things like the biological advantage. Simply, these male athletes like to compete against women. They think it's some sort of achievement as well. You know what? I'm going to come out with a simple solution here, and get ready for this because it is truly, truly groundbreaking. The way to solve this issue is to keep men in men's sports and women in women's sports. I know I can hear everybody shocked across the world. I'm truly one of the most intelligent people on the planet. Really. But it didn't even stop there, man, because Simone Biles, she just couldn't help herself. She goes on to say, bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male at Riley Gaines, which that also doesn't make any sense because Riley Gaines is like 5'5", and she even posted a video in response to Simone Biles proving that. And Simone Biles, man, again got absolutely roasted for that post. For example, Sarah Stock says, you should not be telling anyone they look masculine, and attaches a picture of Simone Biles. Hey, look, man, I'm not going to say anything here. I'm going to be nice. Again, shocking. I know. But Riley Gaines has come out and responded to all of this drama once again. She was interviewed on Fox News, and this is what she had to say.
And the talk of X, really all social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, every article that has been posted, if you read the comments, Simone Biles is getting railed in them. I believe she truthfully incinerated her legacy with just 2 tweets this past weekend.
It was the talk. In fact, over the weekend, I spoke to several people, and I said, have you seen what's happening in Los Angeles? And many occasions I got no. But they did know what was happening with Simone Biles. And the question is, why does this resonate so much? Let's go back. How did you, when you clicked on that from Simone Biles and you were excited and you read, it was venomous and personal right off the bat. How did you feel?
It was venomous because I think venom is all the other side really has, especially, I mean, a lot of the cultural chaos, but especially the issue of men and women's sports. But even outside of the personal attacks, like, I'm secure enough to, those things don't bother me. Simone Biles saying I'm built like a man, it just doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Number one, I know I'm on the right side of history. Number two, I'm happily married for 3+ years at this point. It doesn't hurt my feelings. What broke my heart, though, and why I mentioned in my response to her that this was so disappointing, is I thought of people like my younger sister. She's 16 years old. She's an elite level gymnast. She will go on to do incredible things in her collegiate career and beyond. That's who I thought of. That's the people who look up to Simone. That's the platform that she's built and curated and developed. Those people love her. They admire her. And suddenly, again, in one tweet, and I would imagine a aim to be virtuous and inclusive and kind and compassionate, she sold out people like my younger sister. That's how I felt. That's what made me feel heartbroken.
Well, you
really
mentioned that she's getting destroyed in the comments section.
Yeah.
And it is as though Simone said, what is an increasingly unpopular position that has no rational backing, that now looks to have about, at most, a 10% support in the United States. And she said, I'm going to take that. I'm going to champion this. And you gave her some I think just now, you even gave her some very generous explanations, whether or not she's driven out of empathy or ignorance. How does she end up on the side of championing men and women's sports?
Yeah, that's the question. Several Team USA gymnasts, actually Simone's teammates, both male and female, have reached out to me following this. Number one, telling me they fully agree with the stance that I have taken, the stance that 90% of Americans, and I would imagine 99% of elite level athletes have, that men should not be in women's sports. It's harmful to women to allow such. But also letting me know that they believe the intention behind this is that Simone has a new docuseries coming out on Netflix. They believe it's an attempt to put her name, her profile, her face, her image back in the public sphere. But again, I think this ultimately backfired on her. I can speak to what's happened to me. My social platforms have gone crazy in support of the stance that I've taken. I've gained hundreds of thousands of followers, again, on all platforms because of Simone and because of her personal slanderous attacks towards me. So you have to imagine the inverse has happened to Simone.
Well, I mentioned how venomous the attack was, and we read the tweets that she posted, but I think almost as, I don't know, uncharitable or ugly for Simone is the video that she posted, ultimately to you, where she is on a private jet just laughing at the exchange. Riley, I don't know about the look from a private jet.
No.
Laughing at something that, again, 90% of Americans find extremely just.
But the thing is, this isn't a polarizing issue if you can remove yourself from the opinions of the elite, the people who are on the private jets. If you can remove yourself from the opinions of Hollywood or elected representation, like this truthfully is not a polarizing, divisive issue. It's a unifying issue. I mean, you know, Will, what can you even think of anything else, a deemed political issue that has over 90%? Polls say around 80. I think it's closer to 90. 80 to 90% approval of, you know, the general public agreeing upon. No, there's not another issue. But then you have people like Simone sitting on private jets laughing, you know, it shows how out of touch. That's why these celebrity endorsements didn't work for Kamala Harris, to be honest with you. It's inauthentic, and it doesn't represent and reflect the realities that everyday common sense Americans face. So I imagine she's gotten a ton of backlash.
Now, in my opinion, Riley Gaines has handled all of this really well. You know, when you think about the words and the hate behind the post that Simone Biles put out, it would be very easy for Riley Gaines to come out and do the same thing, right? Respond with the same sort of emotion. But she didn't do that. And this is often the difference between the left and people with common sense. Most people on the left, the liberal side of things, they are so angry, so emotional, aggressive, they're full of hate, that this is how they act. And the post that Simone Biles put out is the post that you often get from these people. But Riley Gaines, she took the opposite approach, which is why Simone Biles let's be honest, has ruined now her public image. She has essentially come out and shown everybody that she stands by the idea of men going into women's sports and taking everything, taking places, awards, championships away. This is one of the most successful Olympians, and she's coming out and saying all the stuff that she said. What message does that not only send to the average person, but all the girls out there who were inspired by Simone Biles? They're going to see that and they're going to think, wait, hold on. This woman agrees with men coming into our sports and taking those places, awards away. I'm not going to look up to her anymore. She has come out against all of us because of this woke agenda. Again, it hasn't gone the direction Simone Biles clearly thought this was going to go. But as I also mentioned at the beginning of this video, Simone Biles put out a post a few years ago now that in today's modern, stunning, brave world would be deemed very transphobic. In 2017, she posted a response to another post that has been deleted now, but she says, "Good thing guys don't compete against girls or he'd take all the gold medals." Now, how insane does that look? How indoctrinated, how brainwashed does somebody have to be to then do a complete 180? And it's even worse because, you know, as I've reiterated throughout this video, she is one of the most successful athletes. She is competing at the highest level in women's sports. And now this is what she is saying? Man. And that post gained a lot of attention because people were looking at this thinking, wait, hold on, how have you changed so much? Even Riley Gaines posted a response where she goes on to say, "Don't you hate it when your past self completely undermines your current nonsensical argument? How has 2025 Simone reconciled with the fact 2017 Simone was a truly sick bully by her own standard?" Exactly. It just doesn't make any sense, man. But I guess you could just say, you know, this is now the society we're in, where left is right, up is down, and common sense is clearly hard to find. That is the end of the video. Ladies and gentlemen, leave your thoughts down below about this whole feud. What are your thoughts on it all? I'd like to know. If you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, share this video. But until next time, it has been your host JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.